I'm here at BPM 2015 on the Digital DJ Tip stand, and I've managed to pull Chad away from the crowds at the Native Instruments stand. Chad is the product owner of Traktor, and Chad is instrumental in bringing the new stems file format to Traktor. So Chad, thank you for coming over, and I thought it'd be nice to talk a bit about Traktor away from about stems away from the product, and about just the concept and how it's going down and the future of it. So when did this idea for stems first appear in Native Instruments' thinking?
Well, it actually appeared about the time I started working for the company about 5 years ago. So we started the idea of stems at about the same time we started the remix deck concept. We actually thought about many different deck flavors that Traktor could have that would be able to handle different types of content in different ways. You know, that was optimized for each workflow. And so we had stems in mind, we had the remix deck in mind, but we started with the remix deck because it actually presented a slightly smaller technical challenge to us, but was a good proof of concept of whether or not Traktor would be able to play multiple file sources in sync at one time in a deck, which is what we're doing when we have multiple samples playing in a remix deck.
Interesting that you say it presented a smaller technical challenge, because actually as a finished product, it's infinitely more complicated for the end user. So to get something as simple as stems was actually harder.
Yeah, the main difference though with stems is the content. This was the main thing, is that, you know, with remix decks, the idea was that a person could really build them themselves, sampling from tracks that they like, or getting loops that they produce themselves and putting them into the remix deck to have a nice
a technical challenge, more than a bigger challenge of getting labels and an ecosystem built.
That's what we had to deal with in order to do stems. So the development time wasn't just, you know, programming, but also all the marketing and artist relations and everything like that to make sure that everyone in the industry would be able to support this format as well. So it's a much bigger endeavor than the remix decks were.
And it's an open format, which means that anyone you're giving away all the tools to make this format, and anyone can incorporate the ability to play them into their own software, into their own non-Native Instruments branded stuff.
Yeah.
So we've already seen that. Beatport has it in their online store, I believe. You can audition the parts.
Where you can mute the parts and everything.
And their
like
offline
that.
player can handle it as well. And we've seen another piece of software from Mixed in Key that's just coming out now. So are you expecting much more than that? Do you have kind of inside information about other stuff we're going to be seeing?
You said it. It's an open format. We, in our wildest dream, expect to see this format in everything. Not just the other DJ softwares out there, but also in all the DAWs as well. If we get, you know, if this format really works, it needs to be the beginning and the end. The whole process from creating the track all the way to playing back should be supported by the stems format. So we want to make sure it's not only easy for the DJ to play this stuff live and have a lot of fun doing what he's doing, but make sure it's easy for the content providers to even create this content to start with. So that's why we felt it was necessary for this to be open. So it could be integrated in any tools necessary, but also so anyone who's making the content, it would be worth their while. They wouldn't just be making content for Traktor DJs only. They are making content for all DJs. And we thought that was really important, that in order for everyone to take the time to make stuff in this format.
Now, of course, stems, with a small s, have existed for a long time. There have always been websites out there that certain tracks are presented in similar breakdowns, and of course acapellas and instrumentals and dub versions of stuff, and there's a real big thriving ecosystem around that. So in a way, it's a development of that. It's something that should appeal to DJs, because it's kind of new but not totally new.
Yeah, it's not new in concept, but it is new in execution, and I think that's mainly one of the strong things about stems, is it finally puts parameters around it and creates a consistent format, because stems is so wild. You know, some track can have 4 stems, another track could have 20, depending on how the producer made it. And as a DJ, how are you supposed to play this stuff? If it's coming in just a zip file with WAV files in it and things, it's not immediate. And so that was the main idea behind stems files. Let's make this immediate for a DJ, so he only has one file to deal with, just like any other song he has, and can treat it the same way, but then feels the power.
So you're talking to producers.
Yeah.
You know the producer's sentiment about this new format. You're getting a sense of how it's going down.
Yeah.
Let me present you a couple of possible objections to stems that producers might have, and let's talk through how that might go forward and how things might pan out.
Yeah.
So I'd say the first one is a producer spends a long time crafting 16 tracks, say, to make a track, and is very proud of the way they've been mixed and layered and so on. And that producer now is being asked to put that into 4 very easy to use tracks so a DJ can do something different with it. How's that gone down with producers? Are they all seeing that as a good thing, or are some saying, I don't want to do it for that reason, I put so much work into getting it just right? What are you sensing from producers at this very early stage, of course? What sentiment are you sensing from them?
Yeah, we're getting both right now. There's a number of producers that are like, oh yeah, this is great. This is excellent. I'll totally distribute stuff in this way. It's more fun to be used this way. And then we're also getting the other side where people are still cautious because they do realize that, hey, if you turn down the drums, bass, and instruments, you've got the bare vocal right there. You know, now that's a start for doing a remix or something else which could be illegal according to copyright law. But that's the thing. This is a free and open format, but it changes nothing about copyright law. Sampling from one of these tracks would still be just as legal as it was before, even though it might be technically easier now. So we get both.
There's always been ways and means of getting stuff if you really, really want it.
Absolutely.
But so that takes me nicely onto the second point, which is exactly what you said. You know, labels, and I think as well, certain types of music might be resistant to what you just said.
Yeah.
A big pop vocal from a very highly paid star is obviously worth a lot removed from the music around it. Let's time warp and say Quincy Jones and his best Michael Jackson tracks were new now. There's some bass lines there people are going to want instantly, and those kind of producers are going to be kind of possibly hesitant. And this is the second point I wanted to make. How is this resistance, potentially, how does it pan out over all genres? Because a lot of the music coming out now is the kind of, almost like the same people who make remix sets, the kind of techie, instrumentally. There's a certain genre that seems to have taken to it in its very early steps.
Yeah.
What sense are you getting of other genres getting involved? The pop, the hip hop, the bit more commercial music. Is there any sense that that's online and on its way as the tools are becoming available?
We'll have to see, because we're actually not directly involved with the creation of this content anymore. We created the format, but it's not Native Instruments' position to be like content provider. So once we give the tools out, it's up to the industry to do what they want with it. And many customers have been very vocal about, like, give us some hip hop, give us some classic tracks re-released in this format, and we've got money ready to pay for these old tracks because it'd be so powerful in this format. And but we felt it was important to start where we could with dance music, with what we were familiar with, to just build up a little bit of a critical mass, to show, like, look at all this music, look at how easy it is to do, and let the word get out, because it would be hard to go to just a major record label and say, hey, we've got this new stems format, how about releasing all your stuff in stems format? It's for DJs right now. They might go, I don't know. But once they start seeing all the DJs start going, where is your music in this format? Then they might actually be able to see the value in putting in the extra effort to do this.
I guess what you're saying is it's a bit of a longer game here.
It is.
You're not going to expect success or failure or anything in between, really, because it's just too early to tell right now.
Right now it's too early to tell.
The tools aren't even out properly yet.
It's
just
Stem Creator's only in beta right now. I mean, it works, and the file that it creates is the file. So even though it's beta, it doesn't mean like the file you create now might not be valid in 2 weeks. I mean, Traktor's out, stem files are out, the format is frozen. And so the beta is just about fixing workflow issues. So you can make stem files to sell today. Absolutely.
So one idea we had was that maybe what you're going to see is, let's talk quickly through the life of a big track.
Yep.
It's available exclusively to certain DJs who are going to break it, and then it's controlled the way it's made available in order to generate revenue. And then later on, licensed to compilations, various other ways of monetizing it, and that kind of thing. So one idea we had was that stems might be in that workflow. So a track, they don't want to release that a cappella too early, but when the track's performed and it's yesterday's news, bang, the stem appears, and then the DJs get the classic old track, and then they can breathe new life into it, because of course everyone's bored of hearing it. All of a sudden, there's a breakbeat there instead of the kick drum, and it's back again.
Well, that does make a lot of sense, because no one's going to be familiar with what you're doing with the stems if you're taking new track's vocal and mixing it with something old, if no one's familiar with that new track yet. So you're definitely right about having the new track come out first. People hear it and they go, that's a hit, I love this song. And then when the stem version comes out, that's when the DJ can start doing really creative things. People on the dance floor go like, I think I know this song, I recognize this vocal, but this beat, whoa, this is a totally new beat. It's a totally different matchup.
Of course, we've got to wait years for that to happen, because the tracks have got to be old. they've got to get old, kind of thing.
Maybe not as long as we think. You know, things move quick. So
cool. So is there anything else you want to share with us about stems before we wrap this up? Is there anything a week away, a month away, 6 months away? I know you're not going to tell me, but you have to ask these questions.
No. But I mean, you mentioned it earlier. We do want this available for all to be able to implement, and that's the last thing that's coming right now. So we've got the STEM Creator tool in beta, so people can make the content, and within I think another few weeks, hopefully no more than a couple months, I hope, we will have all the developer tools out, so that everyone can do a full implementation in their software.
It could be an output option in Ableton,
there would be enough materials from us that would allow anyone to do that. Now, how long it takes Ableton or Steinberg or anyone else to implement is dependent on their own schedules and time frames, but yeah, we want to have those tools out there ASAP, so that
great,
integrate.
Exciting stuff. Yeah. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah,
Chad.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Yep.